Okay, what else we got in here? I got cylinders. Sportster. Oh, cylinders. Big twin. Shovelhead. Another one. Empty box. Nice and rusty, just the way you want them. Breaks the rings in. It's ring break-in material. Cast iron rings will break right in. Does anybody believe that? Sure they do. They probably do. If it's on a blog, I bet you someone believes it. Truth is it would work though, but not very good. Shovelhead 74 standard bore. 74 standard bore. What's this one? Sportster standard bore. Says it's a rear cylinder. Wrong. Front cylinder. Exhaust cut. Push rods, exhaust. Rear would have the exhaust on this side. Sportster, front cylinder. Don't believe what people write down. Now there's no threads up here for a 1/2 inch, so that makes it a late 1000 Sportster cylinder. Late being 73.5 and later 72 and early 73 were like a 900 cylinder. The threads were all the way at the very top. They warped the cylinders real bad. They put the cylinder bolt way down here and warped it down here instead of right where the rings are at. Improvement. They also went to a 12-point bolt instead of a hex head bolt. Still 7/16, so. It's pretty thick bore though, so it might be standard. Who knows? Appears to have all the fins on it, which is always a plus. 72A cylinder, which usually means it's an early 1000 cylinder. That's what you're looking for when you're looking for an early 1000 cylinder. But it has a late thread, so I know it's a late cylinder. So that makes this a 1973 cylinder. There's also a casting number over here. So this is a late 73 1000 cylinder. Because later on they eliminated the 72 castings. It's all about how you machine these things. Now the problem is with a 72 casting is they were thin. You can only bore them 40 over. So I wonder if this is a limited bore cylinder. Being an early casting, which means the outside diameter of the cylinder is the same as that 72 cylinder. And you could only bore them 40 over, max. Whereas all your other Harley cylinders you can go 70, except for 80-inch Harley cylinders. They can only go 40 over also. Okay, now these over here are Shovelhead cylinders. Now, the way you tell them apart real quick is, besides the hole size, is Sportsters have 4 bolts, like an Evo, and real Harleys have 5 bolts, like a knuckle, pan, and shovel. Now when it's round like this across here, it is a Shovelhead. If it's all cut out like this, scallop cut around the head bolt, it's a panhead or a knucklehead. If there's no lip on the thing up here, it's probably a knucklehead. But not all of them. Okay, now they say this is the front, and this, they say it's got 2 front cylinders. Now the way you tell that is you flip it over and look at it. If it looks symmetrical all around it, it's a front. These are fronts. Don't count the big lug sticking out the side. So these are fronts. If it had a big L shape going around here like that, real thick on this side here like that, it'd be a rear. So these are definitely fronts. Now this lug was put on there because it's an 80-inch cylinder. And in 81 through early 83, they had these stupid oil lines that came out of the side of the cylinder over the lifter block trying to fix oil problems. And they somewhere in 82 or for sure by 83 they eliminated it, but they kept the casting the same, they just didn't drill the holes. So whenever you see the late casting like that, you know this is a late casting. So if this is a 74-inch bore cylinder, which they quit making in late 81, And then this is an over-the-counter replacement cylinder from Harley. Because it would be made from a late casting and machined to an early spec. So the next thing you look at is the thickness of the cylinder. So if they're really thick like this, it's an 80-inch cylinder. If it's really thin like that, it's a 74-inch cylinder. So that makes these 80-inch cylinders. Now, the next thing is you're looking for numbers. So usually a Harley cylinder is going to have a -78 casting number over here. And you can't really read what it says right there, that number. It looks like 78 though a little bit. And it said 74-inch cylinders would be -66 first year of the shovel. And this one here looks like the same thing as 78A maybe. So these are definitely 80-inch cylinders. Now, that's what the castings are. They can still have a 74-inch bore in them because the only difference between those two motors is a 1/16 of an inch bore. So if it's 3 7/16 bore, it's 74. If it's 3.5 inch bore, 16 bigger, it's an 80-inch cylinder. There's no other difference. So the way you tell what they are, you got to measure them. So we go over here and measure them. And Harley's a Sportster 3 3/16. So if these are 190, 188 actually, it's standard. $189 standard. That's on top of all the rust, and clean the rust up is probably 2 over. So this is a standard 1000 cylinder. Okay. These over here are 435. These are standard 74-inch cylinders. Same thing, 35, 36, 37. Okay, so these are 74-inch bore. You can also see how big the taper is right in here, the cut chamfer. That means it's usually a 74 too, because it's really, these things are really thick flange. See how these are a lot thinner, just like what an 80-inch would be. This would be thin like that, because it's bored 30 thou bigger on each side to make it 60 over. Okay, so these are 80-inch cylinders, 74-inch bore. So that makes them late 78 motor. So late 78 through early 81. Being unmachined here and on there, these have to be an over-the-counter replacement cylinder. There's no way these were made on the bike. Because 81.5, these holes were functional. This has to be a replacement cylinder, not one that came on a bike. Still Harley, but not original for a bike. If you're restoring a bike correctly, you would want parts that came on the bike when they're actually made, not just replacement parts that Harley made. So there you go. So 2 front cylinders, standard bore, 74, 80-inch casting. That's pretty good. You can bore those out to 80-inch standard too, or anything in between. That's good. And a 1000 standard cylinder. That's nice to have too. And the only problem is the front cylinder. I need a rear one for my race bike. A wrong cylinder. But I wouldn't use that 72A anyway. I don't trust it. It'd be a thin cylinder, I bet. I bet you that thing's thin. But still a nice piece. Alright, does rust in here. It's more of a, not barnacly. It's fairly, it's thick, but it's not super thick. It's pretty even, so they should clean it 10 over. No problem. But anyway, they will definitely have to be put oversized because they're going to have a bunch of rust put in the bores, and if you just tone them, they'd be pretty damn loose. You can use it, but they'd be loose. Alright, that's it for those.